Yeah.
All right, take your pixie out of your pockets. Spread some of that pixie dust around one last time in 2018. As you see, for those of you who are watching the video on YouTube, Eric has sprinkled. For those of you only getting the audio, you have options. If you want more than audio in your car to listen to for however many hours this takes, you can watch it on YouTube. We tried to live stream it. It didn't work. YouTube is not working, but we are here. Of course, your head lost boy, the Spider-Pan, Jeremy, is here. Y'all already heard Lost Boy, Eric is here. We're here to do your 2018 year review. And also, returning with us is Amy from Disney. Is it Disney Inspires or Disney Inspired?
It depends on where you're at.
Yeah, I see you're all confusing me because you keep changing it.
Yeah, we have had some trouble getting things to line up between social media, so that's Jeff's thing. I let him handle.
So now it's Inspires. And we ranked somewhere in the middle, I guess, of the top Disney podcasts because we weren't going to get close to the top. Your top person was Lou Mangello. We weren't going to get anywhere near that.
Yeah. We worked on some criteria today for next year.
So at least I know some people voted for us. Probably not enough.
Well, it's Lou.
Yeah, it's Lou. Lou's just the biggest thing going, and he should probably have his own show on the Travel Channel anyway. Ooh, sorry, Sprite kind of choked the wrong throat. Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Bumblebee was a good movie, apparently.
Actually, it was quite good. It really surprised me. It's takes quite a few hints from the Iron Giant, of all things.
Really?
But, I'll tell you, when they played You Got the Touch.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I've suspected that they only spend like 5 minutes on Cybertron just to tease us in the teaser. They showed it to us. Or did they actually get a little bit more?
I think you're overestimating the amount of time spent on Cybertron.
30 seconds, you get to see the classic generation.
Yes.
See, and that was the build-ups.
But you get the classic generation Soundwave, get the classic generation Starscream. You get, and I'm suddenly blinking out, you get Frank Welker.
Awesome. And Amy's just like, I have Transformers or whatever, and I wasn't playing with that when I was a kid.
But yeah, it's a good story. It basically is the backstory for how Bumblebee ended up on Earth and, what he was waiting for and what he was supposed to be doing leading up to the events of the first Transformers movie.
Which they'd be better off if they just didn't connect it with that first Transformers movie and just started over anyway.
Yeah. It'd be nice if they could just start from square one. But for someone who hasn't seen Last Night, I thought it was really good. I don't think I'm going
to see Last Night either. And Bumblebee, that started looking like, this looks like it might be good. I just don't want to be disappointed again. So I've been almost afraid to go, but
it's really good. I mean, it's got that level of Michael Bay bombacity to it. He's still a producer on it, but you've got John Cena in it as a member of the military, or actually Sector 7, and it's a good performance all around. It's enjoyable. It's hits all of the 80s feels in the right places, and it's just a good movie.
Well, we'll see you New Year's weekend. I might go and check it out myself. All right. But we've got an entire year of news to go through, which I had meant, and I think I even said this last year, I had a sheet I started, and I had it marked out for every month, and when a big thing happened, I was going to add it to this list, and somehow or another, somewhere, I think around February, I forgot about it, because I got caught up, I was trying to finish it up school and everything, and so we really spent some time today adding everything I could think of. But I'm kind of glad that it kind of got limited, because we could be here for 3-4 hours when podcasts try to do this. So I think keeping it limited a little bit is probably going to do some good for us.
I agree.
But the first thing I had, and I'm hoping some of these articles are still up here, but yes, they are. Liberty Square Riverboat was closing for 6-month refurbishment. And this actually started January 8th and we went on through July 19th. And they plan to reopen it on July 20th. Now, I don't know exactly what all they did for this refurbishment. Has anyone been over to, this would have been Liberty Square, so this is Magic Kingdom Walt Disney World. Anybody seen it since July?
No. My parents, probably.
And I was there in April, so
it was still under
I was out of luck,
refurbishment.
yeah.
Well, they probably just, a new coat of paint, some repairs. I don't know if they did any major changes because we didn't really hear anything big about it. But the Circle of Life Land Pavilion was also set to close back in January. I think this was a permanent closing, early February 2018. Now, they were going to build some sort of a new Circle of Life at Epcot's Land Pavilion. This is what it was. So this was in Epcot. They had a Circle of Life thing. And so this actually, it was something that had a film that debuted in January 21st in 1995. It was a 20-minute movie. And so they just shut it off. And Disney Performing Arts Youth Program was supposed to be using the space for classes and stuff like that. I have not heard anything has happened since then.
I haven't heard of anything either. In fact, I was looking at a list of things that have been lost from Walt Disney World over the last year, and this was the first one on the list. I would not be surprised if they came back with something related to the new Lion King movie coming out in 2019.
That's possible.
Because there's a lot of revisions going on to different Lion King related attractions at Walt Disney World, like Rafiki's Planet Watch closed a few months ago. But we heard that they're working on reopening that. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff here that's just going to be tied up with the new Lion King movie.
It could be. Maybe that's what they're doing, is they're going to fix up something new. Because I don't know what else they would do with that area. Because we know there's some Guardians of the Galaxy moving into Epcot.
Yep, that's across across on the other side of Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
Over at the World of Energy. Oh, and there's a huge building going up behind the World of Energy to contain the new roller coaster.
Yeah, and I think there's some new resort space. I think it just came out a couple weeks ago that they just bought some new land somewhere. I think there's going to be some new resort space. Oh, I forgot. I probably should have put that on the list too. But yeah, they just bought a bunch of acres nearby.
There's a lot of construction. Every time that I've had the opportunity to visit Orlando this year, it just seems like there's a flurry of construction all over the resort.
Yep, and even one of my professors is down there right now. Sent me some construction from around Tomorrowland, which I suspect is the Tron coaster.
Yeah.
Can't see a lot of details. It was like, here, Jeremy, dirt piles,
Well, one thing that we're definitely able to view and see is the new gondola system that's going in.
Yeah.
You can see the towers all over the place. I wouldn't be surprised if they started stringing up cable for it by now. And of course, they've also debuted the gondolas themselves to the public. So we've had a much better opportunity to see what those look like. But that's definitely one project that is very visible. And coincidentally, I'm sure once that is up and running, people are going to have some great views over by Disney Hollywood Studios of some other items going in over there, which I'm sure we'll get into later.
Oh, yeah, when we come to what's coming. Although I guess you have to brave the fact that there's going to be no air conditioning on the gondolas.
Yes, that's a hot topic. Wow.
Hot topic.
Yes, no pun intended. Because that's all people were talking about with that there was no air.
I'm sure they have a reason for that. I just don't know what it is.
I'll just look at the monorail in Disneyland.
No air on that?
No.
Wow. And you can't even put down a window on those, can you?
You can slide down the window a little bit, but not far.
Not enough to get enough air. Oh, yikes.
I mean, I would assume that you just can't put an air conditioning unit on one of those, like on each individual gondola. So
yeah, well, I'm thinking of those little units you can find in some apartments or whatever, where it just kind of hangs onto the window. I thought a small air conditioning unit on each gondola probably would have worked, but maybe they just wouldn't have had enough power. Maybe they're trying to keep it low power because they want to focus on moving it, and they just want to have lights in the gondola. And I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason.
Yep.
But it's Florida is so stuffy and humid that wow. I hope they have it. I hope they're kind of open so you could get like some airflow through at least.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But if you need to cool off, the Void brought something new into the Disney resort area, not quite into the parks. And we actually had a couple of guests on a few weeks ago, well, or maybe a month ago, to tell us about Secrets of the Empire, because it opened not only at Disney, but also in Las Vegas this year. And apparently there's even some new experiences that are going to be on the way.
Well, there's already one that's here.
Oh, what's
Wreck-It Ralph VR.
Oh, that's right. They opened a Wreck-It Ralph this year. Mm-hmm. Which I think personally I'd rather do the Star Wars. But yeah, downtown Disney District and also at the Disneyland Resort. So Disney Springs and downtown Disney both have a Void location. And yeah, I'm kind of wondering how much, because there's supposed to be even some new Star Wars adventures, like they're working on some more. I'm wondering, with the Wreck-It Ralph thing, how many different kind of adventures they can come up with that you can do.
All I know is Ralph breaks VR.
Yeah, well, that's what he does. But he did not break Jerry Van Dyke. Jerry Van Dyke, unfortunately, was just a very old fella. And he passed away actually in January, so almost a year ago. I think I got more familiar with him on Coach than I did anything else. I think we talked about some other stuff he had been in.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of my favorite movies is McClintock, which he is in.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot he's in McClintock. That is a good one.
He plays his banjo in there, and nice little fun little role in a fun John Wayne movie.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of good men got hurt today because of you, and somebody ought to hit you for it, but I won't. The heck I won't. And this isn't necessarily big news. This is actually what I'm going to call little news. But I made a note of it back in January. But they had a new baby hippo born in the animal kingdom.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think I mainly noted it because my wife really loves hippos. And I was like, look, a baby hippo. But I think there was quite a few babies, but I didn't list them up because didn't they had a baby giraffe or two, I thought.
Yeah, baby giraffe real recently.
Yeah, I think giraffes seem to breed like crazy because we got 2 baby giraffes here at the Kansas City Zoo as well this year.
And I recall I posted a story somewhere on our page about something being born in Animal Kingdom. It was probably a giraffe.
It probably was. Giraffes breed like rabbits.
Well, hey, at least, they're a fun sight to see at Jumbo House.
I don't know if I've been inside the Jumbo House.
Oh, that's the Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Oh, yeah. So that's my goal. I got to stay there sometime because my wife would love it to go out there because I hear you get the infrared, or not infrared, but the night vision goggles, and you can watch the giraffes come feeding at night. Oh my gosh, my wife would just be in paradise. She would never leave the hotel though to go to the park. She would just watch the stuff all day.
It doesn't help that Well, it doesn't help they've got their own little viewing area out there on the other side of the hotel as well. So.
Oh, here's some stuff that was rough. This is shocking of all shocks in February. The price of annual passes went up.
And not a little bit.
Yeah, quite a bit there. And this was about the time I think you were thinking that you weren't going to renew your annual pass anymore. It was just getting ridiculous.
Yep. With all the times that we've been to Disneyland, we just couldn't help but feel like we really weren't getting a good return on the money that we were paying for the annual passes. So we've taken the year off. But because of that, we were able to go to Disney World. We've had an opportunity to go around, see a few things, go to a few different places, which has been good for us. But, this isn't the last that we're going to be seeing any changes to annual passports. These are definitely going to be, it'll be interesting to see what happens between now and the opening of Galaxy's Edge. Even just recently in the news, we've been hearing about people who are losing their passes because they have been going into the parks and purchasing items and then going and turning around and selling those items on eBay.
Yeah.
And Disney has said that that's a violation of the terms and conditions of the annual pass. People who are on these monthly plans are still required to pay for the remainder of their pass as well, even if it's been taken away from them.
Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
You can't have a pass, but you better pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet they got enough contractual stuff written and documented to where you can't fight it either.
Yep.
Yeah, don't mess with Disney. They'll get you. Next thing I have on the list, actually, it says Star Wars The Last Jedi was given an award for Best Film for Adults. And let's see, what was this was a whole new type of award. I don't think I'd ever heard of it before. It was some sort of grown-ups award thing. Yeah, it was the AARP magazine 17th annual award show, and they the Last Jedi topped Get Out, Lady Bird, and The Shape of Water, and 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, to be the best movie for an adult to come and watch.
Huh.
So,
no comment on the unhappy non-adults who have been crying about it.
Yeah. And even some adults that have been unhappy with it, and there are some definite, feasible criticisms I can understand, and it turned into a kerfuffle because I don't think the criticism was handled very well, and some fans are so passionate I don't know that they necessarily behaved all as well as they should have because, of course, they're passionate. They love this.
Right.
So, sometimes the most vocal people who are raising a bunch of a hissy fit are really because they're just that much of a fan that they can't stand to have things not perfect. But, of course, they also sometimes you get it because the way you want it and it doesn't get the way you wanted it. You got something different than what you really wanted. And so it's hard to please every fan. But when they are unhappy about something, they get so passionate and so vocal because they love it that much. So, yeah. I think I got a little cyclical, but y'all know what I was talking about. So, the next thing though I've got on February 16th was the release of Black Panther, and it got more buzz than it would have normally because it was a quote unquote cultural phenomenon. Really, it was just a darn good Marvel movie, and it really wasn't any better than any other, and it wasn't even the best Marvel movie of the year, but it was just a darn good movie, and I really enjoyed it. But it got an extra push because that's the way the culture's been working lately. And so it got a lot more attention than I think it would have maybe on its own. But it's still a great movie.
Yeah. It was probably, it wasn't my favorite movie this year, but it was definitely well done.
Mm-hmm. And gave a very interesting villain. You understood his motivations. You kind of had a little bit of an understanding. He was just also kind of a jerk. But I did like that they took a look at, if you hold on to all that bitterness and anger, what you could become. It's the difference between holding on to bitterness or holding on to hope that things can be better. And I was getting to see that nice dichotomy. I think that was part of the strength of the movie. That's why I really thought it was interesting as Billy, because you had the hope of Wakanda and versus the anger and bitterness of Killmonger, and how the hope needed to be spread over to the other people. So,
right.
Excuse me, and I'm burping. Pardon me. Oof. I came prepared for this for long haul, so I have myself a glass of Sprite and a small jug of what I call diluted eggnog, because it's probably about maybe a quarter full from eggnog, and the rest is just milk, and then I shake it up, and so I don't get as much sugar that way, and I still get to have my eggnog. Plus, I can make a big jug of eggnog last for a long time because I dilute it in milk. So, diabetic eggnog, man, I get it for a long time, and I'm glad too because I went to the store today. I couldn't find any eggnog anymore at all. So, like, no, it's already over. So I was like, come on, we're not even in January yet. Speaking of food, McDonald's.
Yes,
actually started working with Disney again, and I think the first toys that I remember seeing was those Incredibles 2's toys, which I went and I think I got most of them. Or they're somewhere behind me. I collected some of these things because they were neat. I think I didn't. They had like 2 different Jack toys, I think, but I didn't get both of them. Didn't you all collect those?
No.
My kids got a few of them.
Didn't this year.
So the one with the kids has an excuse, and I have no excuse because I'm 41 years old and I'm buying McDonald's toys.
I know we've got a Dash figure, which spins around and around. We also got a Violet figure where she's in a ball.
Yep.
You can toss her. And I'm trying to remember if we got any others, and it's not coming to my mind that we did.
See, well, there's a Mr. Incredible that mine doesn't work so well. He's got supposed to have a snapback fist, and he punches a part of a rock in half. And then Mrs. Incredible. What did Mrs. Incredible do? I think I had two different ones. There's an Elastigirl on a motorcycle that kind of stretches.
Mm-hmm.
So you can stretch her apart. And there's also a Mrs. Incredible version of Elastigirl that she's just a little posable. And yeah, I have got Dash that he's on the spinning thing. Mm-hmm. And then look, I have a Frozone that I think is a pullback. Yeah, he's a pullback wheeled thing, and so he can zip across the floor. And then I think I got a Jack that he kind of does a hover trick, but I can't find where I've got him back there. But yeah, I collected most of those. I didn't need multiple Jacks, although Jack really stole that movie.
More to come on that.
Yeah, more to come on that. We haven't gotten there, but since then, they did have the. Although this was more of a Sony thing, but they did have some toys out for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I guess might have been part of the agreement with Disney, but probably not necessarily because that was, with Sony releasing that. But I think didn't we have some other Disney toys this year, or was that the only ones? The Incredibles?
Wreck-It Ralph toys.
Oh, there was some Wreck-It Ralph toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't collect any of those. They were little cars, and I thought, well, those are kind of neat, but I would rather have little figures than little cars.
Yeah, we've got a few of those around the house.
All right, but the next thing on here, Benoit and Weiss working on Star Wars film series. Now, these are the two guys behind Game of Thrones, right?
That's right. And we know that they are working on a new series of films. I think for some time we thought that they were actually working on a TV series, but it's since been confirmed that, yes, it is actually a new series of films, much like Rian Johnson is working on a series of films as well. And last I heard, both of those series are still going on.
We don't know anything more about those.
Right.
I'm sure Jeff has some opinions if he was here, because he's not thrilled with Rian Johnson.
He would.
All right, we're moving on to March. We saw the release of, going outside Disney, Ready Player One.
Yeah.
I dug that movie. I don't know if it's, well, in some ways it's better than the book, but it also is missing a lot of the details of the book. But it was just fun and a little bit quicker and easy to follow. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of the diehards of the book were a little disappointed, but some other ones just that just loved the book just thought this was fun as well, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I read the book and saw the movie, and I mean, yes, there was a lot of stuff missing, but it still, I think, met the goal of kind of just depicting the book. So
yeah,
and Ernie Klein was one of the screenwriters, so the changes were something that he had to have agreed to, and that I'm sure that he worked to make sure that they stayed as true as they could to the characters and the plot because of it.
The heart and soul of the book was still there. The only part that was I felt like they tried to rush the love story just a bit, and it kind of fell flat. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a major moment in the book when he tells her that he loves her, and she's like, "You don't really even know me." They'd been dating or whatever for a while, and then the movie, it felt like they just had to get to that point just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And the ending felt a lot rushed to me as well.
Yeah, but it was still fun.
But was it just me, or was I the only person that didn't realize that was Simon Pegg in the movie?
You didn't realize that was... Well, they did have him as a robot, so they hit him pretty well. So I knew he was supposed to be in there, and I think, well, you did get to see a younger version of him, and then he played the older version later. But I think it was a bit of a surprise that he was the robot because he didn't quite sound like himself. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it was a bit of a surprise for a lot of us. Oh, but here's where everything went crazy. Well, this, I think, happened throughout the year up to this point, but I guess around March is when the Walt Disney World changes were completed in Pirates of the Caribbean, and suddenly we have Red, the We Want Rum pirate. Yeah. I don't want to dwell on that.
Well, it has been announced that we know that there's a new Pirates of the Caribbean movie on its way.
Yeah.
And it's not going to include Jack Sparrow, but it looks like it's going to surround this character of Red.
Well, of course it is.
But, having grown up with Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean, the auction scene is something that It's always been a part of the ride.
Yeah.
And when I got to go to Walt Disney World this year and we rode Pirates of the Caribbean, yeah, it was different. But, just because something is different doesn't mean that it's necessarily better or worse than what had been there before. And, there's a lot of things they could have done to really change the tone of the scene. And I can't guess as to what their reasons were for changing it, but if they had to change it, I think in the long run, this is still a good change. Maybe not the best thing that I would have liked to have seen, but I think moving forward, especially for what they would like to do with the franchise in the future, it's still pirates being pirates, even though they're auctioning off things that they could have just as easily picked up and taken for themselves.
Yeah, I was always a bit tongue-in-cheek and everything, and even kind of the goofiness of the women seemed to be kind of willing to be auctioned, and it was, goodness sakes.
But it was just the one woman that was willing to be auctioned
Well,
off.
yeah, she was showing off a leg area. Well, but if you consider the woman who's on the block is kind of like showing and smiling and stuff, you have at least two kind of showing off, really. So yeah, I don't know. It was. Some people get offended by things like, oh yeah, because I was going to ride Pirates of the Caribbean and be inspired to go and kidnap women, and then heck, the song even says kidnap and ravage and don't give a hoot. I mean, you're going to have to change that lyric because that sounds like they're serial rapists because they're pirates. So I guess we better change the song too. But okay, I could go on a rant. I'm not gonna.
They're loved by their mommies and dads.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, they're pirates. You're not supposed to be encouraged to be like them. Anyways, David Ogden Stiers died this year, and he's got a couple of, at least maybe 3 different roles, because of course Cogsworth, but I believe he had a role in Treasure Planet as well, didn't he?
Oh golly, I don't remember Treasure Planet, but I know that in Hunchback of Notre Dame, he was the priest at the church, and then of course he had a huge role in Pocahontas as Governor Ratcliffe.
Yep. So maybe he's been for stuff, because I'm thinking he was in Treasure Planet as some sort of a smaller role. I might get that, might be wrong about that, but I still love him best as Cogsworth.
Yeah.
Flowers, chocolates, promises you don't attend.
Which apparently he came up with on his own.
Yes.
So he was a very funny guy, even back on MASH.
Yes.
I didn't watch a whole lot of MASH, but I remember him on there, and he was pretty funny, and he was good at being very uppity and uptight. So, and here was something that was fun. The Disney Hometown Museum opened up year-round. They're no longer seasonal.
Awesome.
Which, so far, I'm the only one of us that I know of that has been there. Have you been up there yet, Amy?
No. We're hoping to get up there probably, I don't know when, but maybe more towards the spring or summer time.
Well, let me give you a nudge in the right direction and say you want to go late September for this thing called Toonfest.
Okay.
If you have not heard me talk about it on the podcast before, Toonfest is when you go, because that's when you get a parade that marches one way down Main Street and then turns around and marches the other way down Main Street, and all these cartoonists come in and give symposiums, and it's just fun. So
it's much easier for us to do than getting to either of the parks. So
we
go more than once, I'm hoping, because we can drive up there and drive back in a day. So
yeah, it would take you a day too, because it's going to be at least probably a 7-hour drive for y'all, or at least 6 hours. It takes me, I think, 2 hours to get there from Kansas City, and y'all are probably about, I guess 3 hours from Kansas City. So you probably get up there in about 5 hours.
Yeah, I think we checked, and it was like maybe 4.5, depending on which way we go. If we go around Kansas City and kind of avoid that, it'll depend. Yeah,
because you could head straight up 13 and get mostly there.
Yeah.
And go through Warrensburg. So yeah, that's definitely a good possibility for y'all. I highly recommend it. You might just happen to spot me wandering around, and maybe Eric will get out there this time.
I'm hoping to. And while Toonfest is great, I'm glad to see that they've actually been hosting more people throughout the year. We had Floyd Norman there. We've had Jeff Curdy there, as well as Dr. Barnes, Jeff Barnes.
Yeah, we just missed each other too.
Yeah.
And also, Ken, what's his last name? Walt Disney World Ambassador. He's ending his time. I've got his business card. I need to get a hold of him and see if he's allowed to talk about his experience now. Because they kept him on a leash, that he was sent to go do different things as Walt Disney World ambassador. You couldn't record any of his presentations. He gave great presentations. I saw a couple of his presentations and stuff. But I wonder if he'd be able to come on the show now that he's done and talk about his experiences. So I need to get a hold of him and see if he can come on, because he was just so much fun. And I got to see him out there this year again after I filmed a documentary with him last year.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm sure that if he can talk, he would be there in a snap.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Be careful. You be careful about that snap, because April 27th, Thanos snaps his fingers in Infinity War. And
I don't feel so good.
Yeah, and I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark. Some people, I guess, fuss is like, oh, well, they're going to come back. This meant nothing. It's like, you got to get in with the moment. We know a lot of these characters are going to come back, but you got to get in with the moment and enjoy the suffering of watching these characters like vanish and be like, oh, man, and be excited for what's coming up next year, which we'll talk about later. But how heart-wrenching was that for you, Amy?
I was speechless. I kind of just sat there at the theater, I didn't even know. I was like, I don't even know what to do right now. I was just speechless. I mean, and yes, we all know people are coming back and the characters are not really gone, but I'm curious to see how they bring that all back. So, I mean, that's kind of like, oh my God, now how are they going to get all these people back?
Mm-hmm. And there's a few ways they could do it, but I hope they surprise us in something really cool.
Yeah, I've heard some theories as well, and I have a kid at work that is obsessed with the next movie, and so we talk about our ideas. So,
well, I just hope that we don't end up with Tony Stark dying out in space.
Oh, they've actually already leaked a little something there. Apparently, an accidental leak of
la 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 la.
There we go.
La 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 la.
But yeah, there's something that leaked, but it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. We know that much. So, but moving on from and the funny thing is, my wife, I don't think she was aware that there was two movies that they filmed back to back. I mean, we knew it was doing back to back. They've been talking about this for a long time. So I knew they're like, okay, this is gonna take two movies to deal with this entire storyline. So like, I knew at the end it was gonna have an Empire Strikes Back ending. Excuse me. And then we were gonna come back and have a boffo. And really, I think the next movie is really where they hand it off to some of the newer characters that we've been getting movies for, So we have a West Coast Avengers, with Ant-Man and Doctor Strange and Black Panther or something. It's going to be cool.
So I just buzz them in.
Buzz them in, exactly. Just open the gate. Come on, open the gate. But, guess what happened 20 years ago last April?
We got a brand new theme park.
Yeah. And it had a bunch, and it's not a zoo.
Not a zoo.
Not a zoo. Animal Kingdom. Although that was like the coolest zoo with rides I've ever seen in my life when I was there. I was like, this is better than a zoo. This is so cool. The Animal Kingdom had a 20th anniversary, and I think they had a big event for it, didn't they? Of some sort?
They did. In fact, it was exactly a week after I had been there. So they had nothing up there for the 20th as we went in, but when we went back 2 weeks later just to drive around and go pick up a Banshee, they had all of the signage up for the 20th anniversary. And
well, heck, they've had some even big changes. Well, I guess it mainly happened last year with the Pandora opening, but I think there's some other new things coming in there as well. I mean, they've shut down the Rafikis, and so I think there's a lot more surprises coming with Animal Kingdom to make sure that people realize, hey, this is not a half-day park.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it's not a zoo.
Some very long wait times for some of that stuff that I've seen in some of my Facebook groups and things, that because Pandora was definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm. Well, just wait. When that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opens up, you'll be able to get on Pandora anytime you want.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, the truth is, every other park is getting some big new attraction within the next couple of years, except for Animal Kingdom. So we'll have to wait and see what they've got going on.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they got some surprises. They've had their big thing.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big expansion. So, but something else happened outside of the world of Disney, but we have to bring it up because he is the original superhero. 1,000 comics. Action Comics number 1000, and I picked up a copy of it, and until I was kind of broke again, I was actually getting interested in reading some Superman because Superman. That's why. You don't need a reason. It's Superman.
But it's Bendis. But it's Superman.
And it's Bendis writing Superman, and he's. I was getting into it too because they were doing a thing where the Earth had been sucked into the negative zone.
Phantom Zone.
The Phantom Zone, yeah, that's what I meant. And they even introduced some warlord character that had actually been the reason that Krypton was destroyed, and he was making his way to Earth to destroy it, and that's why Earth was in the Phantom Zone, and Superman was going to have to deal with that. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be good. And then I didn't have money to buy comics anymore.
Well, let's just say in the last couple of issues, they brought in General Zod.
Oh man. I need to go and figure out where I left off. Plus, we had some new writers on a new launch of Amazing Spider-Man at about that time, and I was loving that. Then I ran out of money, and I haven't been able to buy anything for a while.
Well, I got while we're on this little segue, I gotta say I really like what they've been doing currently with Spider-Man with Nick Spencer, who
that's the guy.
I really didn't like his Secret Empire storyline, but. He's doing some fantastic stuff with Spider-Man. Just before him, we had, I think, Jim Zub, or maybe someone else. I can't remember now. But, I like what they've been doing with the relationship between Peter Parker and J. Jonah Jameson.
Yes,
his secret out. And
yeah.
J. Jonah Jameson has been nothing except completely defensive and doing all that he can to support Spider-Man. And let's just say the Parker luck has been working overtime because of that.
Yeah, Jonah's taking him on like a mentor, like, I'm going to make you into a real hero.
But still, there's been some fantastic things happening with Peter and Mary Jane's relationship.
Yay.
And, it's a great opportunity. My friend Adrian got to meet the current artist who's doing amazing right now, Ryan Otley. It's going really well.
Yeah, I've been really liking Ryan Otley's art too. I need to figure out where I left off, and I need to jump back on because I was digging it. I loved it. I felt like I got the Amazing Spider-Man, like Straczynski level. Back when the last time I really loved what was going on with Amazing Spider-Man was back when J. Michael Straczynski was writing it back in the early 2000s. Was just great. I mean, there's been some other good stuff since then, but I mean, he was just like a high point there for a while, and it felt like they were getting back in that vein. This was just getting amazing.
Well, remember, One More Day was still part of Michael J. Straczynski's run.
That was kind of running to the end. They were other writers coming in. That was the beginning of Dan Slott and all that. And he really liked to mix things up. So we'll move along to something else depressing. Chuck McCann passed away, known as comedian, but also, my goodness, I mean, I think he was pretty much all the Beagle Boys on DuckTales. I mean, he was just so versatile. Well, yeah, Brian Cummings was in as a Beagle Boy, wasn't he? But I think Chuck McCann was like two of them.
Yeah.
He was Burger, and I think Big Time was somebody else.
That was the Big Time was Brian Cummings.
Yeah. Let's see, because there's Burger, and then what was the other guy? Big Time, Burger, and I always forget the third one.
I don't remember either.
I can't remember. And Brian Cummings, I'm friends with him on Facebook. We need to see if he'll come on the show and talk about being on DuckTales. And I think he's done a bazillion other things as well.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a list of people I mean to have on. I just haven't done it yet.
Well, we've missed that opportunity with Chuck McCann. I'm sure Brian would be happy to do it. And, if you don't know him from anything else, you'll definitely remember him from all of those 90s and early 2000s videos. Now, they're coming soon to theaters.
Oh, yeah.
That was him.
Yeah. Well, I wish we'd have gotten a chance to talk to him.
Yeah.
Oh, he'd have been fun. And I'd heard him guest on some other podcasts, and he was just such a delight. It would have been fun. And then
we've had him as a guest before.
Oh, did you get a chance to talk to him at a convention? Because I know you sent some audio.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago.
With Chuck McCann?
Oh, no, with Brian Cummings.
Brian Cummings, yeah. Because I knew you'd sent some Brian Cummings audio. I didn't remember a Chuck McCann audio. So, yeah, I'm still talking to Chuck McCann. But, yeah, Brian Cummings, I think, you talked to him. You've also talked to somebody else that would be fun to have back on the show for a bit longer. Tad Stones, was it?
Oh, no,
we had Tad Stones on. I think we talked to him. Didn't we already?
Yeah.
Or did you just send it in audio?
Oh no. We talked with him.
Did we talk to him? I can't remember everybody we've talked to. We've got to talk to some really cool people. We need to talk to more cool people. Because that's why I don't do this show for you. I do it because I get to talk to cool people. No, I'm totally kidding.
Well, I'm afraid we do have one other piece of sad news.
It may.
And that was the passing of Margot Kidder, who was Lois Lane for many of us.
Yeah. And I even recently, I was watching a Saturday Morning Rewind remembrance type of video, and I did not realize that she was the mentor character on Captain Planet. Don't know what her name was. I didn't watch Captain Planet. It was too much of a Voltron ripoff, in my opinion, when I didn't want a big environmental preachy cartoon every Saturday morning. I was not into that. Margot Kidder, there's some other stuff she did, but I'm always going to remember she was my Lois Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned when you're looking for pictures to put onto the cover, you got to be careful where you look for those pictures because she did some other work. Yeah. I stumbled on some stuff like, oh, okay, well, okay, that's, okay.
Adult situations then.
Yeah. There's definitely some photos that she had done that were, I guess, quote unquote, artistic. So, yeah. So be careful about letting your kids just search for her blindly if they want to know who she was. But anyways, something else came to an end, and I still haven't got to watch it. So, but Star Wars Rebels had its finale.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to catch up on Big Bang Theory. I need to go back through. I think I'm still like a season and a half out from the finale of Star Wars Rebels. It's all on my DVR.
You ought to catch up. It had a wonderful resolution to it. Has left plenty of questions for the future, because I know that they are going to go back and revisit these characters. In fact, we're already seeing that there's a possibility that one of the characters might be appearing in The Mandalorian. There's certainly some post Return of the Jedi opportunities to tell some stories here about these characters. And with the addition of Thrawn to the series, it made a huge difference and really made Thrawn the ultimate enemy of the Phoenix team. So again, I'm looking forward. I want to see what's on the horizon. Where are we going to see these characters pop up again next? Because it was a very satisfying conclusion, but it also left just the right number of questions and the right amount of desire to see more.
Well, I guess that summed that up. Yeah. Next thing happened in May. Oh, and I get to tell my wacky story of going to see Solo and somebody pulling the fire alarm halfway through it. So I had a whole half hour waiting around outside the theater to find out that somebody had falsely pulled it, going back inside the theater, then waiting another 20 minutes while they let everybody go and buy some fresh popcorn or get new drinks and go to the bathroom again. And then they had backed the movie up about 20 minutes. So my, 2-hour whatever viewing turned into like a 3-hour viewing. And I still enjoyed it, doggone it. And my wife finally got the chance to watch it, and she liked it too. Solo is a good movie that nobody gave much of a chance to.
Yeah, I think Solo had all of the elements that the people who were upset with The Last Jedi would have enjoyed had they watched it.
Yeah. Amy's got nothing to add to that, so I guess. All right.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet. I have not. This year has been really busy with finishing up my master's and doing my field experience and all that stuff, so I am way behind.
See, that's why I didn't finish Rebels, because I was trying to work on my bachelor's, so I missed out a lot of TV. My DVR is loaded.
So apparently I'm the person that's had all of the free time on their hands.
Yeah. Well, even being the dad, you managed to find, because you can sit with your kids and watch this together, so it helps.
Or play Spider-Man,
or play Spider-Man. Well, that came later, so
yes.
So, all right, June. Speaking of Spider-Man, Steve Ditko passed away in June. The artist who really designed the look of Spider-Man and gave him that creepy look in those first issues. Granted, the cover was a Jack Kirby cover. But on the inside, Steve Ditko, and he did stuff with Doctor Strange. He could make anything look mysterious and creepy. And he did some really neat stuff on those early Spider-Man comics. So Amazing Fantasy 15. And then when Spider-Man got his own book, Steve Ditko was the artist working with Stan Lee to create Spider-Man and bring it to us. Excuse me. And I'm drinking Sprite here, folks. And so I thank Steve Ditko for his contributions to a lot of characters. He definitely, I'm glad he was getting credit for what he had done. Mm-hmm. And people remember that. And boy, to have him die, and then we'll get to what happened a few months later. That's wow. Well, that was a head rush.
Yeah. Well, speaking of superheroes, though, and I'm sure that there had to have been some Ditko influence in some way with The Incredibles.
June 15th, Incredibles 2. We waited a long time for this movie, and I was thoroughly happy with it. I haven't gotten to, I bought the Blu-ray, and I got the digital. I haven't gotten to sit down and watch it since I bought it. I need to sit down and watch it. I need to watch it again. It's I made sure I had to watch the Auntie Edna short there. I had to watch it. And it did not disappoint either. That was so much fun. I'm waiting for Amy to throw something in there, or are you
I've seen it. I'm that far behind.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I can't tell you anything. I don't want to spoil anything, but it was just so much fun. It's a great movie. I really did like it. And, maybe we'll get a third one, if you've got more ideas. Although this one, in a lot of ways, was just kind of reversed a lot of the things in the first one, did it kind of a different way. But it was still so much fun, and it was still a delight. And I had a great time. And Jack stole the movie big time.
Well, hey, the Underminer is still out there.
That's right. He did kind of get away, didn't he? So we'll see. Well, they just got to keep bringing him back every time because it's got the actor, the guy that I can't think of.
Oh, John Ratzenberger.
John Ratzenberger, because you have to bring him back somehow every time. So, yeah. But then, of course, speaking of Pixar stuff, June 30th, Toy Story Land opened in Walt Disney World. And I think it was around about the same time Pixar Pier opened over in Disney's California Adventure.
That's right. A double dose of Pixar on both coasts.
And I want to see it all. And the Incredicoaster, although I've heard some criticism of the Incredicoaster that they maybe made the ride, it's a little rougher than it was. So they maybe didn't, I think it was on Grant Pachoko's, what's he call it? Attraction checklist that they did a ride. And they actually preferred the California Screamin' over the Incredicoaster. But I've never ridden California Screamin', so I would just be happy to go and ride it. But they did kind of mention it felt like the ride was a little rougher with some of the new cars or something like that. It felt kind of rough. I don't know.
Yeah, and I've ridden California Screamin', but I didn't ride the Incredicoaster when we were out there, so
I don't know.
Quite a wait.
Oh, the ride that I hear is a lot of fun though is Slinky Dog Dash.
Oh, I want to ride that so bad. That looks like so much fun. Plus, I love Slinky Dog because it's Ernest. Not technically anymore, but
it was Ernest.
It still is. And technically, yeah, I know he only got to do up through Toy Story 2, but what little bit they give him to do, it still seems to capture that spirit of that Jim Varney gave the character. Especially in the second one, he was even greater. Who's behind? Mine. So. I love Slinky Dog. So
but, you can't have something open at Disneyland without something closing.
Oh my goodness!
Right around the same time, we had the closure of several. I can't quite group them into a single category, but several different storefronts, restaurants, and places closed. Now, we did talk about this at the time. Disney had released plans to build a brand new resort in the footprint of the Disneyland Hotel, but that meant that it would require the removal of the AMC theaters, the ESPN zone, the Rainforest Cafe, and one of my favorite spots at Disneyland, Earl of Sandwich.
And now when the plans fell through with this new resort, didn't they try to bring some sort of version of Earl of Sandwich back or something?
Yeah, they basically reopened it.
Yeah,
there had been nothing done.
So I wonder if they're just going to reopen everything until they figure out something.
Well, I know that Rainforest Cafe has been looking at the facility a second time, but all of the animatronics and all of the features that made it a rainforest cafe were removed from the interior. So, that's a cost they're going to have to think about. AMC has taken over some theater space at the Garden Walk in Anaheim, which is about 1.5 miles away from the park. ESPN Zone has been closed, and I believe that there's absolutely no interest in reopening it as an ESPN Zone. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think the only other thing that has opened up recently is Starbucks over in that area. And in the meantime, they have been bringing in food trucks in the evenings to kind of give a little bit of life and variety to the area.
Well, we'll see what happens, I guess, as that moves along. All right, but we've made it to the halfway point. It's July. The Clone Wars final season got announced, and we all went booga.
Yeah.
More Clone Wars, and Ahsoka is back to kind of wrap up her story before getting into what's happening with the book that I haven't finished reading yet. I'm finally a lot of books I need to sit and reading, but I got sidetracked because I also got myself a copy of the Crimes of Grindelwald script. So I started reading that, and so I'm going to read that. Then I need to finish reading The Last Jedi novelization. Then I'll go back to that Ahsoka book. And then I got like 3 biographies of Walt Disney, and I got 2 Jeff Barnes books to finish. And then I saw those W.R. Miller books that I want to get. So, yeah, sidetracked. Books, and I actually might have some time to read some books now.
Yeah,
that aren't textbooks.
But, this is a great thing. How many people have a chance to go back and finish something that they weren't able to complete?
I'm trying to think of some good examples. Well, Richard Donner got to kind of recut together Superman 2, but he didn't get to go and refilm anything.
And it wasn't, as good as it could have been.
Yeah, but it's still pretty neat.
Yeah, but this gives Dave Filoni a chance to go back, complete the story that they were telling.
Yeah.
And we're going to see it on the new Disney Plus service when it comes in 2019.
Woohoo! Which was something we'll be talking about later, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But following that, July 6th, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I actually have heard some people who didn't like it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it myself.
But I've
heard a lot of criticism.
It takes 2 to take it out of sight.
And I bet Amy didn't get to see that one.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm so behind.
But I thought it was a lot of fun, and it does show us something at the end of it. Answers the question of where was Ant-Man when Thanos went, and you get to see some results of what happens there, because you do see that event happen, and so it's kind of almost a little bit surprising that you see him there at the gate, because I want to know how he got back from where he was at the end of the movie, because he had nobody to help bring him back. So, oh yes, there was some definite serious experiment at the end of that thing, and he got himself subatomic again. We'll just say that, and he's got nobody that knows he's subatomic, because some other people just went up in smoke that were keeping an eye on that experiment. So,
well, maybe he got buzzed out.
But literally, well, except for he's too small. It's subatomic. What's going to buzz him out unless he can grow himself a little? But he managed to come back from being subatomic once. But we'll see. He's got to figure it out somehow on his own. So yeah, we'll look forward to that one. That's something that's still coming.
Now, one thing, it seems like it's been going on forever and ever. But it was on July 27th that the shareholders approved the merger of Disney and Fox.
And they're still working out some details and, trying to get all the fine print kind of worked out, and, dealing with all those subsidiaries and all this stuff, and subsidiaries. That's the word.
And all of the regulatory aspects that go along with it as well. But I think I mentioned it in one of my messages to you, Jeremy. Having been through a couple of different mergers, this is moving about as quickly as any merger would go. So, it does take time for these things to happen and to complete. But, we've been talking about it for so long. It was actually in July when it became official.
And my major hope for this is now Disney will own all of the release rights for the original Star Wars trilogy. I would like to see them release the original Star Wars trilogy on digital and Blu-ray.
Does Disney like to make money?
Yes, they do. So, and that's why people have told me, "Oh, they'll never do that." I'm like, I'm sorry. Do you not know Disney and their love of money? I was like, they'll do it because we'll buy it.
Well, but then again, Disney owns something called Song of the South.
Yeah, but they're afraid it won't make that money. Except for overseas, they'll release it over there to make money. They're just afraid here in the United States that people would be all offended.
I
Because
think they're more afraid people would fall asleep.
I liked Song of the South. I thought it was fun. It was very good. And I want to take the side with Floyd Norman. I was actually just rewatching again. I love that documentary, Walt Disney, The Man, the Myth, the Legend, or whatever that's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. But even Floyd Norman, goes on and says, as much as I respect Spike Lee as a filmmaker, Walt Disney was not a racist. So, and this is from Floyd Norman, the first African American animator who didn't realize he was the first African American animator until somebody told him he was, because he was just an animator. I love that guy. But see, Song of the South, actually a pretty good movie. But you know what? If you end up watching it and you feel like offended, then fine. Leave it alone for the rest of us to watch. So, and that's my point on that one. It's delightful, has some fun stories and some good lessons. And guess what? Who's teaching you the lessons? A highly respected black man who teaches everybody. And that guy should have got an Oscar. And Walt did push for him to get an Oscar, and he got an honorary Oscar. I can't think of the actor's name, but that actor, man, he only not only Uncle Remus, but he voiced all the animated characters on there, and he did a fine job. So, yep. And moving right along to August, then, I guess, before I go off on another rant. Stop me before I rant again. Doo-dah, doo-dah. Disney Aspire College program all the live long day. Hey! I remember talking about this, but I don't remember the details.
Yeah, basically, Disney is working to help support their employees as they're going to school, and it's a tuition assistance program to help ensure that they are getting the education that they desire and that they need, and to help them move up within the company or outside if need be.
Yeah, and that reminds me, didn't they start some new STEM type of programming even at Epcot? They had like a thing over the summer. They had a big STEM thing.
Yeah, I believe they did. That's geared more towards the guests, but this is certainly something that that they've implemented for the use of their cast members.
Yeah, and I think they even did some sort of special thing with some STEM program where they brought some students into the parks and did some special things, some programs. They had like they had a show. It was going to go on temporarily at Epcot. It was kind of a fun thing, but I remember there was like some awards that they got in behind some special students that were doing some really great projects and stuff like that. But I don't remember the details of that. But I remember that happened this year. So yeah, Disney's been doing a lot of really neat stuff with inspiring young minds and the great new developers that are going to create new things. But I guess we're ready to move on. Amy, did you at least see Christopher Robin?
No, I did not.
Oh goodness. Bring your tissues and watch it. My goodness, I loved this movie.
Jeff really loved it. He got to see it, so I'm sure we will get it and watch it at some point.
Yeah, I need to definitely buy myself a copy because it was so great. It touches all those right childhood buttons and just tickles the funny bone, and then starts to tear jerk because you understand Christopher Robin. All the pressures of being an adult. And getting back in touch with some of his childhood though it's really something. It's some good lessons with us, and for me, the guy though who really doesn't grow up, I was like totally relating on, and boy, I got into it. And there's even one point that Pooh basically asked Christopher Robin if he's outgrown him too, or leaving things behind. Is like, did I get left behind too? And I was like, oh, you're like, okay, keep it together. Oh, such a great movie.
My eyes got a little sweaty with respect, I have to say.
Oh, yeah. It was so good.
But, there is a bit of our childhood that is coming back.
Well, more of like our teenagehood.
Yes, true.
So we're that old. But just make it so.
Yes, Jean-Luc Picard is coming back. Patrick Stewart is returning to his role with one of with a new Star Trek series that's going to be on CBS All Access alongside Discovery. We don't know much more beyond that, but we do know that it's going to include Jean-Luc Picard. Now, let's hope that it includes Commander Riker and Geordi LaForge and Worf and all of the others. Would be great to see, but still, it's interesting that they're going back and looking at their history and seeing what they can do with the next generation.
Well, I'm calling on a crossover because as Philip and I did determine Luke Skywalker, why he disappeared, he got beamed up to the Enterprise. So that's probably why we were going to see Jean-Luc Picard is with Luke Skywalker, and that's finally going to happen.
You know, as great of a theory as that is, I'm afraid that Star Wars happened in a galaxy a long time ago. And
far away, but well, yeah.
Whereas Star Trek is in the future, and while I know that time travel can and does exist
in Star Trek, yes, they could go back and do it, and they could end up completely lost out in a foreign galaxy.
You need to watch the end of Rebels because there's some interesting revelations at the end of Rebels that could tie into The Last Jedi.
Wow, because Captain Kirk showed up.
No. And neither has William Shatner.
Well,
either.
Darn it. All right, so moving along, I guess we're in September.
Yeah, there's a little indie game that came out in September.
Yeah, some little independent game from some little company called Insomniac, and there's this guy. He throws webs out his hands and he climbs up the webs like a spider. Guy with 8 hands, huh? Sounds hot. Yes, I'm quoting from the movie. But away, web. Fly. Shazam! Okay, but Spider-Man came out on the PS4, and I actually found a fun little detail just by accident, because I was curious, because this Spider-Man's voice sounded a little familiar to me. So I was looking up to see who his voice was, and he did a great job of Spider-Man, and I don't know if he did any of the other Disney Infinity games, but he is the voice of the Disney Infinity 3 toy box.
Yeah, I believe he is the voice for all 3 games.
I think he was, and if I figure out some representation, I would love to have him on the show because Disney Infinity and Spider-Man, and he's doing a great job. It would be fun. So
let me try my contacts.
Yep, Yuri Lowenthal. I'm gonna see because I've got a website of where all these their agent is for a lot of voice talent, and I'm hoping this year I get a chance to go ahead and make contact with somebody there to figure out who we can have come on to promote different things. We'd love to talk to him because he was a great Spider-Man, and I loved him in the Disney Infinity games. So Yuri Lowenthal, open invitation if he happens to listen to our show. You come on here because we want to talk to you because you were a great Spider-Man. And I mean, really, it released in September, but I've had months of enjoyment of playing this game. And in fact, I've now that I've 100%ed all the downloadable content, and I've got every costume and everything. I'm supposed to go and maybe go back and play some Kingdom Hearts again. So maybe I finish that one. But you know what? I'm starting another New Game Plus. And I'm going to play through this thing again. I can't help it. I want to play some more.
Are you going to play Ultimate Mode?
Well, I already went through on Ultimate once. I don't have to do it. Now I can just do it just for enjoyment.
You couldn't have gone through Ultimate once because it didn't come out until the New Game Plus downloadable content.
I know, but I did the Ultimate I haven't done the downloadable content on Ultimate because there was no achievement for doing it. But I did do the Ultimate difficulty on New Game Plus and already beat that.
Oh, okay.
And I've got that achievement. I can New Game Plus and go through it casually. I don't have to achieve anything. I can just sit back and enjoy the ride now. I don't have to strive for anything. I don't have to challenge myself. I can just enjoy the story and dance to your phone music. So I can just go and enjoy the story and enjoy the web slinging, enjoy beating the daylights out of the bad guys, and maybe go after and grab Screwball and get her locked in the back of a police car. By the way, did you see the selfie I took? I posted it to Twitter.
Yeah, it looked an awful lot like my selfie.
Oh, I didn't. You did it too? Because I saw you put a picture of her in the police car, but I was like, dude, she's an internet thing. I'm gonna go take a selfie with her. Like, haha, you're in a police car. Although I think she deserves worse than that because technically she's a terrorist. Because during that last little chase with it, she's gotten this party of all of her followers on the rooftop, and guess what? She's put bombs up there with all those people. That's a terrorist. She's about to commit mass murder. Lock her up, throw away the key, or put her on the execution block, something. She deserves it. She's earned it. She attempted mass murder, terrorist style, with a bomb. So
she deserves it just for that last chase.
Oh, yeah. Which was frustrating as heck. I'm not even going to say how many attempts I took at that before I got it right. I was kind of impressed, and I've got video up on YouTube. The last challenge I did a combat challenge on rooftops, and I actually hit the gold level of that somehow. I was impressed myself. So I posted that up along with the apprehension of Screwball, which is so very satisfying because I even was talking to people at UCM about how frustrating it was going through some of those Screwball challenges because that got harder. And I don't even like the character in the comics because she's so annoying because she gets away with stuff. And she does horrible things and gets away with stuff. I'm like, oh, man, she just needs to get nailed and hung by her toes. And she did. She kind of got hung by one leg up from whatever thing and webbed by something. I'm like, good job, Spidey. Leave her out there for the police, dangling by one ankle. I loved it.
I do have to admit that as frustrating as those challenges were, I learned from them and I had improved my gameplay. So
that's true.
That.
I got a lot better at using those gadgets.
Yeah. I haven't got very far in that game yet, so.
How far has Jeff gotten?
Less. I think he's gotten less done than I have.
Oh, but wow.
I'm not sure. Because we started playing it and then we found a few other things that we were playing and stuff, so.
Yeah, I didn't get sidetracked from Spider-Man. Unless I just ran out of things to do, then I was like, well, let me play something else for a little bit, and I'll come back when the next DLC is. But now I've got everything, and I think I'm gonna play through it again. Third time's the fun. I don't remember if we've ever exchanged all of our PlayStation information. We'll have to make sure we do that.
Yeah.
So. All right, but moving on to the next thing, and this is, some of this is half rumor, but I think there actually has been some official announcements, but I don't think there's been anything directly from Disney or Marvel saying this is happening, but we have enough stuff saying that this is happening. But two different series we're expecting is a Loki and a Scarlet Witch series. Yes. Now, I think I've heard more about Loki than I have Scarlet Witch, which Loki would be the one that's almost like, spoiler, I guess he's not dead because he's supposed to have been dead. So that really takes away from some of his death in Infinity War.
Doesn't mean it couldn't be a prequel.
That's true. He could be a prequel. So we'll see. But if you're going to prequel Loki, you'd probably want to see him running around with some of the other characters from Asgard. And I don't know if they got Chris Hemsworth coming in on that to show up or not. I don't know.
Hey, maybe they could get Zachary Levi.
Yes, I bet they could. He'd probably have a great time to be able to bring his character back because I was kind of upset they killed off his character too. So yeah, I would like to see him running around with some of their Asgardian friends would be kind of fun. And then Scarlet Witch, I'm not sure what all they could do with that, but I would really like to see them expand on Scarlet Witch's powers to where she's not just a telekinetic. Mm-hmm. She's much more powerful as a mutant in the comics, and so I'd like to see them experiment and show how powerful she could really be. So, again, and Vision, I hope he's back. And if they have Vision in the series with her, it'll be awesome.
Yeah.
I like Vision.
She's my favorite, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that could be very, very cool. So I hope it is happening. I haven't heard any word on any filming or anything, but this is floating around that this is happening for Disney Plus, which we'll talk about Disney Plus later. But something else happened in September, somewhere I never got to go.
Stark Industries moved in.
Yeah, Bugs Land closed and Stark Industries took over the space. And I guess they had to re-shrink everything because everything got a little overgrown in Bugs Land, I saw. Small things ended up really big. So PIM particles may have been at work.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
So we're expecting, and I guess this was also part of, we shared a little bit a while ago about this, Avengers Initiative kind of thing they're running even all across the global areas of all these fun new kind of Marvel-related things popping up in Disney parks around the world. So there's lots of new fun and character meets and new rides. We don't even know what all is going to happen in this new Marvel land that they're building, but it's going to be awesome. And I figure if they time this right, let Star Wars have some time to really, eat up some stuff. And when Star Wars starts to slow down, Marvel will open up and everybody will be coming rushing back to Disneyland for that. Yep. So, and I'm not sure what all Marvel they can really integrate into Walt Disney World other than what they have, but I bet they can sneak some other characters in that are not part of that Universal contract. So we'll see what happens with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Maybe Disney will just buy Universal.
Well, plus they've got all of their international parks. We're certainly seeing a lot of Marvel open up there because I know that there's the Ant-Man and the Wasp ride that if it just opened, it's about to open if it hasn't already. Plus there's an Iron Man experience.
Yeah.
So we know that definitely in the two Asian parks they're getting their Marvel on right now.
Yeah, they're just making a reason for me to become a world traveler. Yeah, one day when I have money and I'm not looking at $9 an hour to work a board at a radio station, because this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So,
No comment.
yeah, this is just the beginning. I'll become legendary one of these days, I tell you.
I just need to pay taxes, so.
Oh yeah, weehoo! Taxes. Yeah, I've eaten that bullet already this year.
Oh
But
no,
moving
I'm talking international airline taxes.
Oh, because you're at an airline, yeah, you're gonna use some of your connections, get your passport all worked up, and then get some tax return money in so you can afford your ticket. I see what you're doing.
There we go.
Yeah, I would do that if I could. I can't yet, but I will. I'm just meeting a little bit of resistance, that happened in October, Star Wars Resistance, and I watched one episode. That's as far as I've gotten. Anybody watched any more than one episode of that?
I've watched most of the episodes, but I haven't seen all of them just yet. The series did start out very, in a way that would really appeal to kids.
Yeah,
much like
it's
Rebels.
very kids.
Yeah, much like Rebels began. But you can start to see the overall story that they're trying to tell come through about what really is this base, what are they trying to do with it, and what is the connection of the person that runs this base to the First Order, and does he want the First Order there, does he not want it there, and with the inclusion of this new young character as a spy working on behalf of Poe and the Resistance, we get to see this, watch as the First Order is starting to take their first steps in taking over the galaxy. Of course, this is set in the months leading up to The Force Awakens, so we're seeing a lot of the rise of the First Order and what kind of a threat they actually can possess.
Yeah. And I figure, this being a Filoni series, it won't really hit its stride until that second season, and it'll just take off. So, yeah, I'm giving it time. And the first episode was pretty good. Mm-hmm. So it didn't get me sucked into where I was like, I gotta make sure I don't miss the second one. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, I'll watch this one. So I've got a bunch on the DVR to watch.
And the studio that's producing the animation is the same one that brought us Tron Resistance.
Mm-hmm. Which I watched a few episodes of that one. The animation was kind of choppy. I couldn't get into the animation, but it was an interesting story.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd have gotten a chance to watch the whole thing. But, Disney Plus, I think might have it as a possibility. And maybe they'll go ahead and make some more of that series. That would be awesome.
As long as they don't show it at midnight.
Yeah. Show it. Well, if it's on a streaming service, we can watch it anytime I want to.
Exactly.
So, and I think if Disney notices, if they put it on there and a bunch of people suddenly go start watching it, they might say, hey, maybe we should go ahead and make that second season. So that's what I'm hoping for. Did you happen to watch Resistance, Amy?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll just move on. A bit of an announcement, and Nick Nolte will be making an appearance in this series, The Mandalorian. We're getting some new characters, a new Mandalorian who, from what I understand, when I was on Wookiee Radio, this might be a series about trying to bring the Mandalorians back from obscurity because they really kind of got scattered. We see even Clone Wars, they're just kind of decimated. But like a return of the Mandalorian way, the warriors that they were. That might be what the saga of this series could be, which sounds really, really cool.
And we know that it is set about 3 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
So we're picking up right there at that and trying to fill in some of the gaps between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens. They've had some pretty interesting new technology on set so that they can see CGI renderings in real time.
Neat.
And this has been connected with some of the Mandalorian helmets that they have. One of the helmets that they've had on set has a very unique shape to it, and there's a possibility that one of our rebels could be part of this show.
Could
whom
be.
We've only seen in animated form, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Maybe you can even get the voice actors to come and play the character in person.
Possibly. She wants to.
That'd be awesome. So we'll see. But that's neat because we're gonna have various different directors. Even Jon Favreau's doing a couple episodes, and Ron Howard's daughter. She was gonna direct an episode, I believe.
Yeah, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah. So
and
I'd like to see her.
Taika Waititi as well.
Oh yeah, and didn't he do Ragnarok? Didn't he?
Yeah.
So a lot of good talent going there. I wouldn't mind if Bryce Dallas Howard's father, Ron Howard, came along and made a couple episodes because I like what he does with Lucasfilm properties.
Hey, I'd like to see a little bit more actual films from him as well, starring a certain young swashbuckler.
Yes, indeedy.
Or scoundrel.
Yeah, or pirate, smuggler, cowboy. I mean, he kind of runs around in a western. I expect the Mandalorian will feel a little bit like a space western because I think we're going to get also a little bit into that underground.
Yeah, the underworld.
Yeah, this is going to be so cool. I'm excited for this. This will be awesome. So, but then, oh boy, I see the next thing on our list here. November. We were talking about Steve Ditko earlier, but November was also the death of Stan Lee. This guy built my childhood next to everything Disney had done, really. we'll just put it like that. My childhood, my middle school, my high school. It was him, George Lucas, and Walt Disney.
Yeah, that one. It was rough.
Yeah. Well, because we're all rendered silence by that, I'm going to move on to that. Strangely, even in the same week.
I've got one thing to say.
One thing.
Enough
Excelsior? Said. Enough said, yeah. But in that very same week, Roy Clark died, which maybe he wasn't as big of a name to some people, but I mean, I grew up watching Hee Haw, and he was on The Muppet Show, and he was just such a talent, and I'm not a country boy by anything, but boy, could he ever pick a banjo.
And he did have a Disney connection with an appearance on Disneyland's 30th anniversary special.
Yes, he did. I mean, Roy Clark, he was just a legendary and always wore that smile, always genuine. And, he was just a great talent and a delightful guy. But now I'm going to wreck it.
Break
twice.
You can break it.
Yeah, because the internet got broke with Wreck-It Ralph too, and I'm of one of those ones that I still had fun with it, but I was a little disappointed. And I'm hearing a lot of the people who really weren't, and so maybe I was alone in that. But I had some legitimate criticisms of that film, and I had a long list of legitimate criticisms, but I still enjoyed it, just not as much as I expected I would have.
Wait, you're saying that people can actively not fully enjoy something yet still appreciate the experience?
Exactly. Because I had some criticisms, but you know what? I did have some fun. So overall, I'd say, it's enjoyable, and I think I'd watch it again. But I'm probably going to still favor the first one over the second one. But, the sequel's never quite as good. Thank you, Kermit.
Right.
But although I liked that sequel, Muppets Most Wanted was fun too. So despite its problems.
Hey, we got it while we were waiting for Toy Story 4.
Exactly, which is coming. Which we'll talk about that later.
And I did see Wreck-It Ralph. So
you did see Breaking the Internet?
I did. We did go see Breaking the Internet. So, Jeff thought that was his favorite movie of the year. So
really, see, I don't know. It must have been. It was so odd that I had so many criticisms about it.
Yeah, but I love both of them. So it was. I loved it.
Okay, and I loved the first one, and I liked the second one. So we'll call it fair on that. And then Mickey had his 90th birthday in November, and not only Mickey but Minnie Mouse.
Yes.
And I did actually see it at Target, and maybe I should have went ahead and picked it up. But with all these, Target had all these miniature Mickey Mouse figures of all his different styles throughout the years. There was a set of Minnie Mouse. It was for like $9. So I think there was 9 different little figures, and they had all these different styles of Minnie throughout the years. So I think I might have to get it because it's Minnie's 90th birthday. But I mean that month was just full of all kinds of fun and all the kinds of neat toys. And of course, I got some of those neat toys, and Time Magazine had their 90 years thing, and then of course Disney released their 90 years thing, and And there's even some special Hallmark ornaments that I still want to try to get one. Philip got one, and it is really cool.
And unfortunately, there was also a special, which was, hey, take a look at all these music acts. Wait, this is about Mickey? Yeah, okay. Look at these music acts.
But they did release that really cool DVD Blu-ray there with about, it was like 13, 15 different Mickey Mouse cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Which it was missing some of the ones that I because it didn't have Lonesome Ghost on there, and there's some other ones I would have liked, but maybe if that has sold well enough, they'll maybe release a few other editions.
I would just like them to re-release Mickey Mouse in Black and White, Volume 1 again.
Yeah, and then release that color one too. Just re-release all those Mickey Mouse cartoons, and then start doing the Donald Ducks and all the Goofies. Oh yes.
Let's hope they show up on Disney Plus.
Oh yes, I would sit there all flippin' day and just watch cartoons, man.
Right?
All day. Whoops, was I supposed to go to work? I'm sorry, I was watching Donald Duck. Trying to make those waffles, you know.
Well, if we haven't talked about Star Wars enough.
Can you ever talk about Star Wars enough?
Well, one more thing for 2018, and that was the announcement of the Cassian Andor series based upon the character from Rogue One.
The series we didn't know we wanted, but once they announced it, we said, yes, please.
All I ask for is just more K2SO.
Yes, please. And plus, Diego Luna was so great.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and yeah, K2SO. Alan Tudyk, if he can sit and do a series, that'd be flipping awesome.
Hey, the man can do a pretty mean chicken, so.
Yes. I don't know if there's anything Alan Tudyk can't do at this point.
He can't resurrect Wash.
Oh. Well, they did make an announcement this year that they're going to have some sort of new Firefly series, though. So I think like a prequel series or something. There's something going around about that. I think it's going to be Netflix exclusive, but there's something happening. As well as the Stranger Things 3 is happening now. We finally got that announcement trailer. So, there's stuff coming to Netflix. That's a next year thing, and we're still wrapping up this year. Yep. And we're ready to go to December.
Where are we going to go in December?
Into the Spider-Verse on the 14th. Now, did you get to see this one, Amy?
No.
Oh, my goodness. No. This was so much fun. It was really a hoot. And I even liked that on the downloadable content that after I finished everything, I got this Spider-Verse costume unlocked. And it's so delightfully colorful. The colors are bright and everything can match the style. Now, I had some criticisms on this. The style of it was kind of neat, but there was times it kind of did weird things with my eyes because it felt like they were trying to do 3D colorization. But, I mean, I got what they were trying to do. But it was just fun.
Yeah.
And some people are saying this was their favorite Spider-Man movie, and I don't know if I'd say that, but it was a heck of a lot more fun than Homecoming was, I think.
Right.
I had a good old time, and he's got something going on in there.
Oh, Spidey Bell, Spidey
there you
Bell,
go. Yes. Something I thought they would only have in the movie as a joke and maybe one song out on a soundtrack turned out to have an entire 5-song EP of Spider-Man Christmas songs.
Well, I tried to keep that as minimal as possible so we didn't have any
so we don't have a copyright issues. Yes. Oh my goodness. That movie was more fun than I expected it to be because every time I looked at it and see that choppy animation, I was like, ugh. But after a while, you kind of get used to the choppy, but then it was jarring whenever everything smoothed out every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But that was just a lot of fun, and I look forward to watching it again. Because it did get you an opportunity to just take yourself outside of your expectations of Spider-Man because you're just looking at all these alternate universes, and so you can just like, well, what if it had happened this way, and what if this? It's basically a bunch of what if questions can get thrown in there, and even getting a nod to Ben Reilly. Oh my goodness, that was so much fun.
It is a lot of fun, really enjoyable. A good message behind it as well. So, I think they did a really good job with it. Of course, this came from the same people who were originally going to be giving us Solo.
Yeah. But then they didn't.
Yep. But still, very fun movie. I can't recommend it enough. But that's not the only movie that came out in December.
Yeah, another big surprise of something that I was, boy, was I skeptical. But Mary Poppins Returns was delightful. I mean, it was just, it had a couple of parts that was a little weird. Like, I didn't understand the Mary Poppins Cabaret show was a little weird, but oh my gosh, it had all the right notes, literally. I mean, musical. It was just fun. It was just nice to have a Mary Poppins movie in theater. Now, it's not as good as the original because you're never going to top that, but it followed along those lines. And as skeptical as I'd been for years when we heard this was happening, I had a great time, and I need to probably get the soundtrack because I want these songs to maybe become as familiar with some of the classics because there's some great songs, and I really liked The Light Fantastic. That was just fun.
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet. We planned to go see it, and then just didn't make it because with Jeff's work and stuff. So hopefully maybe next week we can get to go.
Utilize the holiday, New Year's Day. Just go because nobody will have to work then, right? I hope.
I think he does.
Oh.
We're both off Thursday, so maybe we can go Thursday.
Oh yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it. It's great. And I love the costumes when they go into the cartoon world because of course they had to. The costumes are so neat. They just blend right into the cartoon drawing, the art style. Oh, it's just great. It's just great. It's just a delight visually, musically, and the characters are fun. And oh yes, I'm so happy with that.
I don't know about your theater, Jeremy, but mine, there were some ducks flying around inside of it. They were spitting in my eyes.
Boom, yeah.
I wasn't crying. They were spitting in my eyes.
That's what was happening. Yeah. Speaking of ducks, though, I'm going to throw this in there. Did y'all get to see that Disneyland Paris commercial with the little duck who loves Donald Duck?
Yes.
I saw that.
Oh my goodness,
that's adorable.
That's the cutest thing. It's like the cutest thing I've seen all year. So, he's a lot cuter than Aquaman. I mean, I know, ladies, you're looking at Jason Momoa, and he's shirtless through a big chunk of that movie, but that's not why I went to Aquaman. I went to Aquaman on Going Outside Disney, but that was a pretty awesome movie. Did you get a chance to see Aquaman yet, Eric?
I haven't. My son and I might go see it for his birthday next week.
Oh, you two will have a great time. It was so much fun, and it's colorful at times. It's dark at times. It has that epic feel of a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of Lord of the Rings. It never feels like a superhero movie. It's just fun. And when you get that moment when he gets the trident in this costume that you see kind of in the trailer, it's so great. It even has a great release the Kraken moment, really. So there's another one for you, Amy. Y'all go see. I mean, this one sits right up there with Wonder Woman as being finally, some good DC movies of just realizing, hey, this is a comic book. These should be fun. They don't have to be dark and grim and Batman. So I think I can be fun, and then we can have a good time and have an adventure. Oh, because Aquaman was a great release. And then the same week, Bumblebee, which we already got a review earlier, I'm gonna go out see it probably, hopefully Tuesday. I want to see Bumblebee.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely want to see it. I know you can't see me at the moment, but you might see something similar to this.
Yeah, it was funny that you said you can't see me because John Cena's in that movie. So you had to go and buy yourself a Optimus Prime, apparently.
This is not a recent purchase. This is older.
Oh, you used to have your old one from when you were a kid?
Perhaps.
Well, that's impressive.
Wow. Yeah.
All right, so we got a couple other things. I don't know much about this. Tropical Hideaway opened apparently this month.
Yes.
Is this part of the new cruise line areas they were?
No, this is actually once upon a time at Disneyland. They had, and now I'm blanking out. They had a Polynesian, the Tahitian Terrace. Which is where they had all sorts of Polynesian performances. They had not really a full luau, but South Islands type of food and drinks that they would serve. About 30 years, but about 25 years ago, they swapped out the tropical theme and turned it into Aladdin's Oasis, complete with the Cave of Wonders, and it turned into an Arabian theme. But this last year, they have completely taken out all of the Aladdin elements, and they, except for a tile mosaic of the carpet. But they have turned everything back to a Polynesian style, and they have even included an animatronic bird named Rosita. So now I know you've heard the Tiki Room before, and Jose at one point says, "I wonder what happened to Rosita." Wait, is that right?
Yeah. Which I had heard that she's been in a bathroom, one of the women's restrooms somewhere. They've actually had a Rosita there for a while.
But they now have a Rosita and the Tropical Hideaway, and it just opened this last week.
I remember them talking about the tearing down the Aladdin to build a thing, and for some reason I was thinking I heard something about some new destinations from the Disney Cruise Line that was lining up this year as well. I thought maybe that was one of them. I think there's a new island. I can't remember. We probably should have paid more attention to the cruise line for this, because I know there's some new stuff that they announced, some big deal things happening in the cruise line this year. Oh well. I'm sure over at Disney Indiana, they'll know all about that because they take a lot of cruises. We need to have them on and tell us about some cruises and give us some tips if we ever want to take a cruise of what we should do.
Oh, yeah.
Because while you're on that cruise, you might find a pineapple under the sea. And that's where you're going to find SpongeBob SquarePants, because Steven Hillenburg actually passed away here just a couple weeks ago here in December. So I know he's not a Disney character, but SpongeBob has become an icon. So were you a SpongeBob fan, Amy?
I've seen quite a few episodes, just because of work, and the kids love it. So I've seen more episodes of SpongeBob than I thought I would. And I don't hate it, but I probably wouldn't binge watch them all on a weekend or something. But.
Yeah, it depends upon what season you watch, because the early stuff was fantastic. It was clever, but somewhere along the line, I mean, SpongeBob has run a very long time, and cartoons have gotten to be more frenetic, and they feel like they have to be a gag a minute, and they don't have time to really build a joke and make it funny. Now it's just like, you're supposed to laugh at this, and a lot of cartoons this new style are just not funny to me. And SpongeBob kind of went that direction. But some of the early stuff is it's clever and funny. And Steven Hillenburg actually had created SpongeBob to help teach marine biology in a way. And there was an aquarium or whatever they had the character in. And so it's just turned into a phenomenon with at least one halfway decent movie. The other one, I've only watched a little bit. The one that has Antonio Banderas as a pilot in that movie is just terrible, what I've seen of it. But the first one, it was kind of fun. I can't do repeated viewings. They show it all the time on Nickelodeon, and my wife will automatically watch. If there's nothing really to watch on TV, she'll go straight to watching SpongeBob on Nickelodeon because it's always on. So right. I will frequently pull up something on YouTube instead. So when Disney Plus happens, then we won't have near as much SpongeBob going on around here, because I will be watching hopefully some Donald Duck cartoons or something. But we've got stuff now. We're going into 2019. We got a lot of things to look forward to, and some of this we've already mentioned. And I think Captain Marvel is going to happen first. We don't have these listed in the order on my list, but Captain Marvel, I believe, is in March, if I'm remembering correctly.
It's March or February.
I'm thinking it was March.
We looked it up the other day because Jeff posted about it. There's only a few months that there's not something coming out.
Yeah.
So, but I can't remember what
month. Avengers is in May, and usually, they'll do their spring release stuff will usually happen like in March.
Actually, Avengers got moved up to April.
Oh wow! Gee,
again,
I was gonna go. Yeah, again, I was saving that for being my birthday month movie, but that's okay. I'll go watch it a month early. So yes, Captain Marvel, which looks it's gonna be all right. I think it'll be fun. I mean, there's been some people a little skeptical, but you know what? I think we'll give this a fair shot. I think it's gonna be fun. I think I'm gonna like it.
Well, we'll find out on March 8th.
Yes, we will. And then Avengers Endgame, I know I'm going to enjoy that as soon as they open that gate. So, and let them in. Mm-hmm. So we got that to look forward to. And then, of course, over the summer in Disneyland, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge will open. And they're expecting, 200,000 people to go marching in there.
Yeah, how they're going to make that happen we saw how well Toy Story Land did. So I can imagine that Galaxy's Edge is going to really, really be packed.
That'd be a good time to go and ride the Haunted Mansion because I bet you there'll be nobody hanging around the other parts of Disneyland. It's like, oh, well, everybody's over at Star Wars. I can go hit anything there in the rest of this park I want and probably only wait 5 minutes.
Indiana Jones might only have a 5-minute wait at that point.
There you go. So, yeah, that'd be a good time to go because you can ride anything in Disneyland you want if you just avoid the Star Wars area, which you'll have to wait in 2 or 3 hour lines.
Yeah. Yeah, and because they don't have the Magic Band Fast Pass system either, so
they better develop something like that, though. Again, run quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got it very well hidden. Like you can't see much of anything in the park while you're there, just because of the way they've got everything set up. And we really tried to get some pictures, but it's so hidden.
Yeah, you'd have to force jump over the wall to be able to take a look.
Yeah.
Well, then fall in Walt Disney World, they'll get their version going, and then you can finally get over into the Pandora area because it'll clear out a little bit. So you'll finally go to get your ride, your Flights of Fantasy or Flights of
Flight of Passage.
That's the one. Flights of Fancy. I think that was an Animal Kingdom thing, but that was birds, and that's now been taken over. That's something that happened this year. That's now been taken over by the Up characters this year.
Great Bird Adventure.
Yeah, I would like to check that out. I liked the show that it was before, and now it's just got characters in it. So Russell's going to take you through, so that'll still be fun. But also coming up in 2019, Star Wars Episode 9. J.J. Abrams is back, and we'll see what he does to kind of wrap this whole thing up. Yeah. And see what, maybe get back onto whatever plan it was that he'd had, and well, I don't know what to expect out of this one.
No. Well, again, Last Jedi was written before The Force Awakens was released. J.J. Abrams was the producer on The Last Jedi, so he still had his hand in how things have been crafted up to this point.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. This is we really have no idea what to expect anymore. Also, we've already mentioned several times Disney Plus will be released here in 2019. I don't know if we have a release date on that. Anybody know?
Nope. They say sometimes towards the end of the year.
Yep, but it's happening. And then, of course, I believe it's going to happen next November, Toy Story 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that means after this they can make another Muppets movie?
Let's hope.
Yeah, I would like some more Muppets.
I've heard that there's a big Muppets announcement coming this next year.
Yeah, because they did say something about trying to have a Muppet series on the Disney Plus at one point. They were talking about it.
Yeah, but I don't know for sure if this is a new series, a new movie, more live shows. Of course, the Muppets had their live show at the Hollywood Bowl a couple of years ago. This last year, they had some shows at the O in London. So, yes, complete with a Doctor Who Muppets Doctor Who and Pigs in Space sequence.
Yeah, I remember seeing that online. That was fun.
But hopefully we'll get something new for Muppets that's beyond the new Dark Crystal series, which of course is Jim Henson Productions. Or a new Sesame Street movie, which is also separate from the Disney-owned items. But hopefully we'll see something coming this year.
Oh, but something actually what we probably should have mentioned at the top of looking ahead, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out in January.
Yes.
Although I probably won't be buying it until later. I'll wait for maybe the price to go down because I still haven't finished the other Kingdom Hearts games. So I can wait. It looks awesome, but I can wait. Let me finish the other stuff so I get caught up.
I've been waiting about 10 years.
And it does look amazing. And I'm excited to play it, but I want to play the other games first. I have a lot of other games to play. I will bide my time. I already spent my $60 on a game this year with Spider-Man. I'm really gonna hold back and I'll do my usual thing where I wait for a game to go down in price. When it's around $30 or something, that's when I start thinking, maybe it's time to buy it. So we wait.
We've also got Dumbo coming out next year. We've got the remake of The Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
We've got and we have the Jungle Cruise coming out with The Rock and Emily Blunt.
Yeah, I don't know any more than that. Really. It's the Jungle Cruise movie. I'm like, okay. And it's The Rock, and he's a big money draw. So, I mean, it's going to pull people in.
Yeah.
And hopefully it turns out that better than most other ride-based attractions are. Hi, Haley. Turned out. Because, the Haunted Mansion was so-so. The Pirates of the Caribbean is hit or miss.
Started great. Yeah.
So, a ride-based...
And then there's the Country Bears.
Which I thought was actually kind of fun. It wasn't a great movie, but it was kind of fun.
It's got Paul Bearer in it.
Yes, and I actually had spotted, and I took a screenshot of that and used it once for a cover. I've got an article here that I found from Fox News of all the things we're expecting to open here in 2019, and Mickey Mini Surprise Celebration is actually going to happen, of course, in Florida. That's supposed to be mid-January 19, and that's where you can meet the couple on Main Street with Pluto. But also, aren't we expecting that maybe this year the new Mickey Mouse ride will be opening over there in Hollywood Studios?
Yes. Mickey's Runaway... I know it's not
Runaway Railway.
Yeah,
Mickey Runaway Railway.
And they're building one in California as well.
Oh, okay. We're also going to get whatever Epcot Forever is, although it's temporary.
I think that's what's replacing Illuminations later.
Right, it replaces Illumination, but it's temporary, and in 2020 we'll get the whatever show is the official replacement. So Epcot Forever is a temporary replacement for Illuminations. And that will be going. It's going to take its final bow actually fall 2019. So that's when Epcot Forever will begin. There's going to be some new Pixar meet and greets over around Toy Story Mania's entrance, including Edna Mode, Mr. Incredible, Mrs. Incredible, Frozone, and of course, there's going to be some Uniqueburg celebrations around January 2019, where you're going to get to meet Mike and Sully. Then, of course, the Lion King celebration. That's going to be out in the streets of Disney's Animal Kingdom at Walt Disney World with the Hakuna Matata Time Dance Party, of course, for the 25th anniversary, starting early. Also, that Disney Coronado Springs hotel expansion will be happening over by Lake Buena Vista. And, of course, there's going to be it's going to have like a new Grand Destino Tower. But there's also Mickey's Mix Magic, which is a new nighttime display with some lasers, projections, and all kinds of good stuff for Disneyland, starting January 18th. Mickey's also going to be appearing on his own float on the Mickey's Sensational Parade, which comes back to California. There's going to be, of course, some new things in Disney Springs, a restaurant called Jaleo with famed chef Jose Andres. And, of course, the CityWorks Eatery and Poorhouse, a lot of different stuff. An NBA experience at Disney Springs. Disney Skyliner, which we mentioned before. There's going to be some new attractions at Pixar Pier. Jesse's Critter Carousel and the Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy, which we just spoke about a little bit ago, where you're going to have like some life-size Cars characters and take you through some sort of film. It's going to be some fun. A Wonderful World of Animation is coming to Disney's Hollywood Studios, chronicling Mickey Mouse throughout the ages of nearly a century. That one sounds pretty neat. That's going to be debuting in May. Disney's Riviera Resort. This is a Mediterranean-inspired Walt Disney World hotel set to open in the fall. It's also going to be part of a Disney Vacation Club property. We're also expecting to see that space-themed restaurant open up in Epcot, which was announced, about 2 years ago we announced that. Wow.
D23.
Yeah, so that's about to open up. It's going to be right across from Mission Space. So a lot of new things are popping up this next year that as they pop open, we'll, of course, add them onto our list of what we'll talk about a year from now when we do this again. Because we are gluttons for torture of doing long episodes, because right now we have already gone an hour and 42 minutes. Whew. We got it in under 2 hours. I'm impressed with this.
All right.
All right. Anything we want to say before we wrap this thing up?
Happy New Year 2019.
Yes, Happy New Year. Thank you all for being along for the ride with us here in 2018. We look forward to having lots more fun here in 2019 on the show. We've already spoken. I've got an email address for Jim Corcus. I'm going to email him, and I'm going to get him on here. We've even talked to some other fun guests we'd like to have. So I'm going to try to have a lot more guests this year. And even I like having just average Joe people some more. I would like to get some Disney cast members on, people who go on trips, and we'll just find new, different kinds of fun things to do, because we do talk a lot about the Disney news here, but I try to make the show about more than that. We don't just talk about news. We just try to have fun with the show. So if you haven't ever listened, and this is the first time you're watching us on YouTube, as I'm going to upload this as soon as I hit stop, or the first time you listened on the podcast just because you saw us on this list that Disney Inspired had, you're wondering, well, who are these people? I like Neverland. Then, well, I hope you enjoyed this long, drawn out blah, 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 blabberfest, because boy, was this of a blabberfest. But we just hope you come back next week, and we'll just say goodbye. Everybody say bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.